Joining us now, back home in New Hampshire, former Trump campaign manager, in my opinion, a transformational figure in the history of American politics, Corey Lewandowski. He did a tremendous job in helping to secure the 2016 GOP presidential nomination for Mr. Trump. I'll be seeing him in Cleveland. He's leading the New Hampshire delegation there. He's a national delegate. They amassed almost 15 million GOP primary votes, setting records for campaign efficiency against the most powerful Republican field in memory. And Mr. Trump's primary election performance, unprecedented in history. Corey Lewandowski is a historic campaign transformational figure, as far as I'm concerned, in American politics. And he will always be remembered by many of his friends like me who embraced his campaign vision, which changed everything. Hey, Corey, back in New Hampshire. Good to have you with us, man.
Hey, thank you, John. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, look, a lot of talk's been going on one way or the other, but the bottom line is, as I've been saying all week, you, in departing the Trump campaign, all the talk about it's got no money and it's got no people and all this nonsense that the mainstream media has played. Look, you guys raised, $6 million in one day. Trump's going to match it. You're going to have the field people you need. I think you made a great speech on Monday. How do you see this thing playing out now?
Well, here's what it comes down to. Once again, the mainstream media has a very different narrative than what is actually taking place. And the reason for that is because they don't want to see Donald Trump be successful. Donald Trump can't raise money. Well, Donald Trump has funded his entire campaign through the primary process out of his own pocket, so He hasn't had to raise money.
Right.
And now that the campaign is moving to a different phase, we put out a solicitation, and in a very short amount of time, raised $6 million online, and I think that's the record in a 24-hour period, $6 million in one day. Mm-hmm. It's amazing what has been done and what will be done. And this is typical of the media because they don't want to understand what's really taking place in America. They don't want to understand that someone can fundamentally come to Washington, D.C. if they're elected and change the politicians and the lobbyists and the special interests. They don't want that. So they continue to push out a narrative which is untrue in the hopes that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that Donald Trump can't win. That's what the Washington, D.C. establishment wants. That's not what the American people want.
Well, and look, let's look at the other thing. One of the things that Mr. Trump said he would do with these early donations coming in is he would match it dollar for dollar. He got 6, so match it with 6. Bing, you got 12. And it's just started. And look, this is something we've been saying for some time. All of the narrative in the mainstream media, Corey Lewandowski, about the fact that the big bundlers weren't going to step up with the big money. Well, Corey, of course they're not, because with Mr. Trump, there's no quid pro quo. These guys are accustomed to giving big dollars for big favors in return. That doesn't exist in the Trump world. So they're not going to give money to Trump like they have given to other candidates in the past where they expected something in return because they're not going to get anything in return. So the difference now is they have to give money to save America, not save themselves or their own businesses or their own lobbying interest. Am I right?
No, you're exactly right. And here's the big difference. And this is what a lot of people, again, they don't understand. Look, the bundlers have come on board and they've started to raise money because of their own self-interest. But you're exactly right, John. We are at a pinnacle in our country. We're at the precipice. If we elect Hillary Clinton, this country's going to fall off the cliff. And the choice comes down to one of two people. It's Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. And I think we can agree that our country is better off under a Trump administration than a Clinton administration. And these bundlers have to also understand it's not about them anymore. Right. It's about what the American people want. Donald Trump got over 14 million primary votes in 38 contests he won across the country. The people are speaking, and they're tired. And the bundlers can either decide that they don't want to join, and that's a tacit endorsement of Hillary Clinton or an implicit endorsement of Hillary Clinton, or they can join behind Trump, and they can do what everybody else understands now is important, which is to make sure Hillary doesn't get 4 or 8 more years into the White House. And they are coming on board, and they are raising money, and the money's pouring in, particularly to the joint fundraising accounts with the RNC. I was with Mr. Trump for the last 5 days. We made a trip to the West Coast and Arizona and Nevada and Texas and North Carolina. Raised, 12, 13, $14 million in 3 or 4 days. the money's pouring in. People want to be part of it. But now, you're exactly right, John. People need to be part of this for the right reason, not because there's a job at the end or because they want something. Because Donald Trump doesn't play that game. Mm-hmm. He's doing it to save the country, and if you want to be part of it, then you need to do it for the same reasons.
Now, look, we heard Mr. Trump the other day saying that you and he were great friends, and he valued your friendship and what you've done. And I know, obviously, departing the campaign was not in your plan. What is your relationship now with Mr. Trump?
I have a great relationship with Donald Trump, and let me tell you, it has been an honor and a privilege to have a small part in what has happened. Mm-hmm. And when you look back at it, you say, wow, I saw this firsthand. And I think when you're in it every day, sometimes maybe you take it not for granted, but you don't understand how big the movement really is. Mm-hmm. And my relationship with Mr. Trump is phenomenal. I had the privilege of talking say after a speech, and I told him how amazing I thought that speech was. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I also said, I'm going to support you whether it's inside this campaign or it's outside the campaign, or it's as the head of the delegation from New Hampshire to the convention, or it's telling my neighbors to vote for Donald Trump, and I'm going to do everything I can to do that because it's the right thing to do, not just for him, but for our country. Mm-hmm. And I believe it. Mm-hmm. And, John, if I'm not part of that campaign anymore and I don't have the privilege of working inside the operation, that doesn't change my feelings one iota of what I've dedicated 18 or 19 months of my life to. Which is to change our country, to fundamentally bring it back to the way it should be. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to do everything I can to help Donald Trump be elected President of the United States because it's the right thing for me to do.
Well, it is. And, you were part of what ignited a movement. What I've been saying this week is, management changes come and go. There's reasons inside baseball and the things of that nature, but it doesn't fundamentally change the fact that what you've got here is a movement that transcends any number of names that happen to have a title in an office. And so, look, I'm going to look forward to doing my show up there from your home. Even if you invite me or not, I'm just going to show up one day on your door, knock on your door.
You're welcome anytime.
I want to do my but I just want to tell my audience I've never worked with a better, more dedicated, more professional campaign manager in my entire career. I've been following this stuff since I'm 18. I'm 58. You do the math. That's a very long time. Corey Lewandowski, one of the most professional, on-target campaign managers that I've ever dealt with in the media on anything. And same with me. It's been an absolute privilege to be part of this. And Corey, I'll tell you something else. I mean, you have a lot of people like myself that are your dear friend that love you to death. A lot of us took this hard the other day because we believed in what you were doing. And I want to tell my audience, I mean, this guy worked. He got up at 4 a.m. He went to bed at midnight. He got about 4 hours of sleep a day. I don't think he went home but 2 or 3 times in 19 months. I mean, he worked 7 days a week, 20 hours a day, and is a big part of what happened. And look, we're going to be there in Cleveland. We're going to be on the floor. I'm going to be on Radio Row. You're going to lead your delegation there, and, we're going to bring this thing home. The final question, there's a little talk about some kind of rules change going on. They might have 25% in rules in order to bring the vote to the floor to unbound the delegates. But by my count is I don't see this happening. Have you heard anything? Have you had any updates at all on this?
Look, there's a small group of people inside the delegates that want to try and make a move to unbind delegates and allow them to, quote, vote their conscience. And the bottom line is every state, and not just the rules of the state, but the rules of the party are very clear. It depends on which state you're in and what your state rules are of how long you're bound for. Donald Trump has gone and played by the rules that the Republican National Committee laid out, whatever those rules were from day one, whether it was ballot access or filing the paperwork or running in those states, and he won. He didn't win by a little. He dominated in the states of New Hampshire and South Carolina and Nevada and all those other 38 places where he won. He dominated. And if you think that a small group of people are going to change the rules and subvert the will of 14 million voters, I think those people don't really understand what's going on in our country right now. And what is going on in our country right now is a call for change. And a small group of delegates inside the Rules Committee should not have the power to remove the will of the millions of people who've turned out and voted for Donald Trump to be the Republican nominee, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, I don't think it is either, and we're out of time for this segment. I want to thank Corey Lewandowski for being with us. I just got a text here from Corey in Southwest Virginia who says, boy, this guy's a class act. Corey, truer words were never said. Corey Lewandowski, tell your wife, get the guest room ready. I'm going to come up. I'm going to do my show there. I'm going to show up one day and knock on your door.
I'd love that.
And we're going to have it, man. Hey, love you. You did a transformational job, and we're going to keep the momentum going, and we're going to win this race, man. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, John.